Ukraine in savage battle against propelling Russian powers. Ukrainian powers set up furious protection from slow the development of the bigger and all the more impressive Russian military surrounding the capital, as the US also EU hurried ammo and weapons to Kiev and reported strong new monetary approvals focused on additional disengaging Moscow. Alarmed, everyone looked for security inside and underground, and the public authority kept a 39-hour time limit to keep individuals off the roads. In excess of 150,000 Ukrainians escaped for Poland, Moldova and other adjoining nations, and the United Nations cautioned the number could develop to 4 million assuming battling heightens. Colossal blasts illuminated the pre-dawn sky south of Kiev early Sunday. President Volodymyr Zelensky's office said one of the impacts was close to the Zhuliany air terminal, and the city hall leader of Vasyl-Kiv, around 25 miles, 40 kilometers, south of the capital, said an oil stop was hit. Zelensky's office likewise said Russian powers exploded a gas pipeline in Kharkiv, the nation's second biggest city. The public authority cautioned that smoke from the enormous blast could cause a natural calamity and encouraged individuals to cover their windows with moist material or dressing. "We will battle however long expected to free our country," Zelensky promised. President Vladimir Putin hasn't revealed his definitive plans, yet Western authorities accept still up in the air to oust Ukraine's administration and supplant it with his very own system, redrawing the guide of Europe and resuscitating Moscow's Cold War-time impact. To help Ukraine's capacity to wait, the U.S. promised an extra $350 million in military help to Ukraine, including hostile-to-tank weapons, body covering and little arms. Germany said it would send rockets and hostile-to-tank weapons to the attacked nation and that it would close its airspace to Russian planes. The US, European Union and United Kingdom consented to impede chose Russian banks from the SWIFT worldwide monetary informing framework, which moves cash around in excess of 11,000 banks and other monetary foundations around the world, part of a new round of ascents expecting to force a serious expense on Moscow for the attack. They likewise consented to force prohibitive measures on Russia's national bank. It was a muddled how much area Russian powers had seized or how much their development had been slowed down. England's Ministry of Defence said the speed of the Russian development has briefly eased back reasonable because of intense strategic hardships and solid Ukrainian opposition. A senior U.S. protection official said the greater part the Russian battle power that was massed along Ukraine's lines has placed the nation and Moscow has needed to submit more fuel supply and other help units inside Ukraine than initially expected. The authority talked on state of namelessness to examine inward U.S. appraisals. The time limit constraining everybody in Kiev inside was set to endure through Monday morning. The general calm of the capital was irregularly broken by gunfire. Battling on the city's edges proposed that little Russian units were attempting to make a way for the primary powers. Little gatherings of Russian soldiers were accounted for inside Kiev, however Britain and the US said the greater part of the powers were 19 miles, 30 kilometers, from the downtown areas starting at the evening. Russia asserts its attack on Ukraine from the north, east and south is pointed distinctly at military targets, however scaffolds, schools and private areas have been hit. Ukraine's well-being pastor detailed Saturday that 198 individuals, including 3 youngsters, had been killed and in excess of 1,000 others injured during Europe's biggest land battle since World War II. It was muddled whether those figures included both military and regular citizen setbacks. A rocket struck a skyscraper apartment complex in Kiev's southwestern edges close to one of the city's 2 traveler air terminals, leaving a rough opening of assaulted lofts north of a few stories. A salvage laborer said 6 regular people were harmed. Ukraine's representative to the U.S., Oksana Markarova, said troops in Kiev were battling Russian harm gatherings. Ukraine says approximately 200 Russian officers have been caught and thousands killed. Markarova said Ukraine was gathering proof of shelling of neighborhoods, kindergartens and clinics to submit to The Hague as potential wrongdoings against mankind. Zelensky emphasized his receptiveness to converses with Russia in a video message, saying he invited a proposal from Turkey and Azerbaijan to put together conciliatory endeavors, which up to this point have wavered. The Kremlin affirmed a call among Putin and Azerbaijani President Ilham Aliyev, however, gave no smidgen of restarting talks. A day sooner, Zelensky proposed to arrange a key Russian interest, leaving aspirations of joining NATO. Putin sent troops into Ukraine in the wake of denying for a really long time that he expected to do as such, meanwhile developing a power of right around 200,000 soldiers along the nation's boundaries. He guarantees the West has neglected to treat in a serious way Russia's security worries about NATO, the Western military collusion that Ukraine tries to join. Be that as it may, he has likewise communicated disdain about Ukraine's on the right track to exist as an autonomous state. The work was at that point coming at incredible expense for Ukraine, and evidently to Russian powers also. Ukraine's infrastructure ministry said a Russian rocket was shot down before first light Saturday as it set out toward the dam of the rambling repository that serves Kiev. The public authority additionally said a Russian escort was obliterated. Video pictures showed officers reviewing wore-out vehicles after Ukraine's 101st Detachment revealed obliterating a section of 2 light vehicles, 2 trucks and a tank. The case couldn't be confirmed. Roadways into Kiev from the east were spotted with designated spots monitored by Ukrainian soldiers and youngsters in non-military personnel garments conveying programmed rifles. Low-flying planes watched the skies, however it was hazy on the off chance that they were Russian or Ukrainian. Notwithstanding Kiev, the Russian attack seemed to zero in on Ukraine's monetarily fundamental seaside regions, from close to the Black Sea port of Odessa in the west to past the Azov Sea port of Mariupol in the east. Ukrainian officers in Mariupol protected Spans and hindered individuals from the coastline in the midst of worries the Russian naval force could send off an attack from the ocean. "I don't mind any longer who wins and who doesn't," said Ryuzana Zubko, whose enormous family was constrained from their home external Mariupol after it was severely harmed by shelling. "The main significant thing is for our youngsters to have the option to grow up grinning and not crying." Battling likewise seethed in 2 eastern domains constrained by favorable to Russia separatists. Experts in Donetsk said boiling water supplies to the city of around 900,000 were suspended as a result of harm to the framework by Ukrainian shelling. The U.S. government asked Zelensky early Saturday to empty Kiev, yet he turned down the proposition, as per a senior American Insight official with direct information on the discussion. Zelensky gave a disobedient video recorded on a midtown road, saying he stayed in the city. "We won't set down weapons. We will safeguard the country," he said. "Our weapon is our reality, and our reality is that it's our property, our country, our kids. Furthermore, we will guard all of that." Hungary and Poland both opened their boundaries to Ukrainians. Displaced people showing up in the Hungarian border town of Zany said men between the ages of 18 and 60 were not being permitted to leave Ukraine. "My child was not permitted to come. My heart is so sore, I'm shaking," said Vilma Sugar, 68. At Poland's Medica crossing, a few said they had strolled for 15 miles, 35 kilometers, to arrive at the boundary. They didn't have food, no tea. They were remaining in a field, out and about. Kids were freezing, Myrna Wikolnko said as she looked out for the Polish side for her grandkids and girl in regulation to make it across. Authorities in Kiev encouraged occupants to avoid windows to keep away from garbage or shots. Many dug in storm cellars, underground carports and tram stations, where families, some with pets, set up camp on hard floors. Trucks were meagerly loaded at supermarkets and drug stores, and individuals stressed how lengthy food and medication supplies could endure. The U.S. What's more, its partners have amplified powers on NATO's eastern flank, yet up to this point have precluded sending troops to battle Russia. All things being equal, the U.S., The European Union and different nations have slapped wide-going assents on Russia, freezing the resources of organizations and people including Putin and his unfamiliar clergyman. Dmitry Medvedev, the delegate top of Russia's Security Council, cautioned that Moscow could respond by quitting the final atomic arms agreement, freezing Western resources and cutting discretionary ties. There is no specific need in keeping up with conciliatory relations, Medvedev said. We might check each other in optics and gun sights out,